Hey there everyone! Since Xcode 11 has come out in the App Store, I have been getting a lot of questions on some of the things that have changed. So if you are still using Xcode 10, then you can go ahead and skip this video. Or if you don't even want to worry about the changes and just follow the course as is, which is honestly completely fine. Everything you learn will still be applicable in Xcode 11. If you want to do that, then you can use a previous version. You can use Xcode 10. You can download that at xcodereleases.com. Note that you do need to be logged in with your Apple developer account. And I would recommend the Xcode 10.3. You just click on download and it'll download Xcode 10 version for you. Also, I know this video is coming at the beginning of the course, so some of it might seem overwhelming with things we haven't gone over yet, but that's okay. Just follow the steps and refer back to this video when you run into something. All right, so if you are using Xcode 11 and still working through this course, here are the things you need to know about. All right, so we're going to be creating lots of new projects. So when we create a new project, in Xcode 11, you're going to see something a little bit different, okay? So I'm just starting a new project here, single view app. If we go to next, you'll see here under user interface that we have two options, Swift UI and storyboard, all right? So make sure that you select storyboard. All of the projects in this course use storyboards since it's iOS 12. And let's go ahead and give this a product name. I'm going to say Xcode 11 updates. All right, you don't necessarily need to create a new project and follow along. This will be for future reference that you can come back and remind yourself what you need to change, okay? So I'm going to call it that and make sure you have storyboard selected. All right, so then I'm going to say next, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this on the desktop and say create. And now we have our project. So if you want to go through the course targeting just iOS 13, then you are good to go. And you can go ahead and just wait for me to get through the rest of this part until we get to the Modal presentations. However, if you want to support older versions like iOS 12, or for instance, if you're building to a device that you haven't upgraded to iOS 13.0 yet, then this is what you're going to need to do, okay? So for some reason, new Xcode 11 projects like we have here are created to only support iOS 13 out of the box. So we need to make some changes. And a quick caveat, disclaimer, these guidelines are meant to be used only for these course projects since they are exclusively storyboard, all right? So first thing we are going to do is we're going to come over here to our scene delegate.swift file, copy this var window of type UI window line, just copy that, come over to our app delegate, and go ahead and paste that right there. All right, so that's good. And now we're just going to delete this entire scene delegate.swift file, okay? So just click on it and do delete and say move to trash. All right, then what we want to do is come back to our app delegate.swift file, and we're going to get rid of this UI session lifecycle methods. So just delete those, and that's good. And then the last thing we need to do is come over here to our info.plist file and find the application scene manifest line right here and just delete that. All right, so I'm going to save that. And just to make sure everything is running good, I'm going to go ahead and run this real quick on the iPhone 11 Pro simulator. And sure enough, it loads up. It's just a white screen right now. And to test that it was working on earlier versions, we need to come up here to our project right here, and in the general tab of your target, we can select here iOS, let's say iOS 11.0. Okay, so this is the lowest iOS version that we can run it on. And now that we've done that, I have a iPhone XR 12.2 simulator here, and let's run this and make sure that it opens up as well. All right, there we go. So we got our two simulators that are running this Blink project, but it's building, so that's good. All All right, so the next thing that we want to look at is the new modal presentation defaults. I have here opened up the e-commerce project we build later on called Artable to illustrate this difference. And I have it running on our iPhone 11 Pro, so this is iOS 13, and then we have it running on my iPhone XR 12.2, iOS 12. And you can see here that here on the left, this is the iPhone 11 Pro. When we initialize this navigation controller, which contains the login flow, it's popping up as kind of this card pop-up, and you can dismiss it by default by just swiping down, okay? But this isn't really the behavior that we want with a login flow. Sometimes you'll pop up the login screen and you don't want the user to be able to get to the rest of the app until they log in. So with this new default modal presentation style, they could just dismiss the login and continue into the app. Obviously, that's not good. And there's times when this new modal presentation style would be nice, but this is not one of those cases. So if you want the previous default behavior like we see here, so here on the right we have iOS 12, and I say continue as guest, and then we go to it and I say login, and then it pops back up and fills the whole screen. If that's the behavior that you're looking for, what you can do is in your storyboard, you select the view controller or navigation controller that you want to fill the entire screen when it is presented, and you can click on it and then come over here to the attributes inspector and look at the presentation style and go ahead and select full screen. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna save that and run that again on the iPhone 11 Pro so we can verify that that is working as we expect. And now when I click login, sure enough, we fill the entire screen. We can't simply swipe down to dismiss it. And this can be used on other view controllers as well that you want the full screen presentation. If you are presenting a modal programmatically, you can set the presentation style like this. Note the presentation style equals .over full screen. Lastly, iOS 13 supports dark mode. And if your user has dark mode set for their system and on their device, and your app doesn't have dark mode settings in yet, you might get some funky results like we can see here. If you open up this tab right here, View as iPhone, you can change the interface style to dark mode, and you get a preview of how it's going to look. And obviously this doesn't look great. So if you don't want to worry about dark mode quite yet, you can opt out by adding a field to your info.plist file called user interface style, and then you set the string to light. Let me go ahead and delete this and then re-add it so you can see it. So you click on the plus button right here, and then you can just start typing user interface style, and then you double click right here and say light. And now, when you run the app, even if the user has their device settings set to dark mode, it will ignore it and continue showing it in light mode. All right, so those are the things you may run into using Xcode 11 in this course. Please let me know if you run into any other issues so I can make the appropriate updates. And again, I know most, if not all of this may be completely new, so just know that the info is here when you run into it in the future projects. I have also made this video into a text version so you can quickly refer back to this and find what you need. All right, I'll see you in the next one.